Choosing Chaos, Solo Motherhood by Choice, the podcast for women who are done waiting for the one and ready to become the parent on their own damn terms. We're talking fertility, pregnancy, emotional chaos, and the village that it takes to raise a kid. Sometimes you're crying in the bathtub. Sometimes you're crying because your toddler bit you. And sometimes you cry because you chose all of this. Welcome to Motherhood, solo style. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Choosing Chaos, Solo Motherhood by Choice. I am your host, Laura. In the spirit of a month filled with love, we're sharing a story that beautifully expands what love can look like. This week, we're sitting down with Jackie, a single mom by choice who welcomed her own beautiful baby into the world after navigating her own fertility journey with courage and intention. But her story doesn't end there. In a remarkable, full circle moment, Jackie felt called to extend the love that she had experienced to another woman still walking her own path to motherhood. Without giving too much away, this story is about connection, generosity, and the quiet, powerful ways that women can show up for one another. It's about hope multiplied, families formed in unexpected ways, and how love, when shared, only grows. We're so honored to tell Jackie's story. Let's dive in. Thank you, Jackie, for joining Choosing Chaos. It is a pleasure to have you here today.
Thanks for having me, Laura.
Of course. Let's start sort of back at the beginning of your journey, Jackie. Can you share a little bit about your fertility experience and what led you to trying IUI?
Yeah, I would say I had a really fruitful experience. I initially had identified a friend to as a donor and a co-parenting plan, and we had a couple cycles of IUI over a year or so. And just talking to my doctor, it just wasn't in the cards for us. And so that's when I had to kind of look at other options and finding another donor through a sperm bank. And so that's definitely a lot more involved than an IUI, IVF, and so much more involved with drugs and the planning and the timeline and involving egg retrieval and timing of it. I was really blessed. I was really lucky that I only had to undergo one cycle of IVF, and I think my first cycle, and my doctor was actually quite surprised. I think I had 42 eggs in that first cycle.
Wow.
And as a result had like 8 or 10 really healthy grade 8 embryos. So I just feel really lucky and blessed that I only had to go through that once.
Yeah.
And be able to have success with my daughter today.
So when you had the 8 embryos that were grade A, did you send them out for testing?
Yes, that is an option you can do at additional cost. And so I did choose to do that because I wanted to, you're all in. So why
Yeah.
not? What's the another 5, 6 grand to get this done right?
Right.
So yes, that's exactly what I did. And I was able to find the results of the grading of the embryos and the gender, which was important to me.
Yeah. So when you sent them out for the testing, did your final result have 8 healthy eggs,
Yeah, I
embryos?
think they grade it on a scale of A to C or A to D.
I think.
And I think at that point I had 6 grade 8 embryos out of the batch that I had. Um,
That's really good.
yeah, and what was surprising to me was there's only out of that batch was only one girl and the rest were boys, and I
Oh,
really
wow.
wanted a girl. And
Yeah.
the transfer for the girl actually stuck. I don't know what I probably would have done it again another cycle if she didn't stick, but she did.
Well, thank goodness, right? And one round of IVF is amazing. How old were you, if you don't mind me asking, when you did all this?
I think I was around 36 or 37. So I had her when I was 38. So I imagine, just kind of backtracking the timeline. I was probably 36 or 37 when I did the IVF cycle at UCSF.
So still, I mean, in the geriatric phase, as they say,
Yes. Yeah.
but still like younger, still have a lot of good eggs and embryo options, which is really nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you go back in time with your agreed co-parent, what did that agreement kind of look like as you guys were going into the journey of potentially having a baby together?
Yeah, it was kind of, it just was a little organic. I had known him for a long time, almost 10, I think over 10 years. Funny story, actually met him through we were actually dating, but that didn't work. We just became friends, really good friends, and he stayed in my life, and he was older and also wanted to be a father at some point. Didn't look
Oh,
like that was, in our near future, and so we had long conversations and our values and what we hoped for it to look like. You kind of just have to take the plunge and go for it. We didn't have any legal agreements in place. Again, it was all organic and how we felt and like just putting trust into the process and
right.
going with the flow and what comes our way. And obviously it didn't, where there were some twists and turns along the journey and we went our separate ways in the end, but it was a journey and you kind of just deal with it with openness and
Yeah.
honesty. And I don't think there's a playbook of how to do this. I'm actually really grateful how it turned out in that I was able to do this on my own. Again, it is scarier to not have a partner, but in so
Right.
many other ways, it is easier as well.
You make all of those decisions without having that additional input or opinion from somebody else, and it is kinda easier that way, to
It
be
is
honest.
easier. Yes,
Yeah.
you are the
Mhm.
sole decision for everything.
Would you have gone back through the whole process of IUI with an unknown donor?
Sorry, I guess I don't understand the question.
I think what I'm trying to say is, like, if instead of going directly to IVF, and maybe you didn't, maybe I'm misunderstanding, is after you had went your separate ways with the known donor and then you went through the bank and you got the unknown donor,
Oh.
would you have considered starting just the IUI rounds
Oh, I
all
see
over
your question.
again?
Okay, Laura. Okay, got it. Yes, I think it's been a while, but Laura, I think I did do one or two cycles of IUI because obviously that's the more cost-effective option and less involved.
Yeah.
And I was running out of vials. I think I was down to one or two vials left. I'm like, okay, this is, and I really liked the donor that I picked, and he was retired. That was a time, an inflection point where I had to do IVF, and I didn't want
Mhm.
to risk not having, um, a sperm remaining.
Especially when you are all in with a sperm donor, right? Because we know it's hard to pick one to begin with. There's a lot that goes into picking a sperm donor, and you really like that donor after you spent so much time on the consideration of picking that individual. So, like knowing he was retired, it's not a guarantee to go right to IVF, right? But it's a better outcome in most situations to go that route because IUI is just like so unpredictable, I guess we could say.
Yeah, it really is.
Mhm.
I think I know of all my friends, only one choice mom had a successful pregnancy through IUI. And
Really?
yeah,
How many rounds did it take her?
maybe one or two, but I think it's a lot of luck.
It really is timing, luck, all the things, age, I don't know. There's
Yeah.
so much that goes into it that I'll never know. What was it like navigating both the emotional and physical ups and downs through the different types of treatment that you had gone through? Because I know IVF is like, there's a lot that you have to go through. Your body goes through, you go through mentally, physically, emotionally, so many shots. It's an extended period of time. What was that like for you navigating all of that?
Yeah, it was pretty easy in terms of managing the medication. I was so lucky. My next door neighbor is a retired nurse, and I
Oh,
can't
nice.
give myself shot. I just had my basket of drugs and needles, syringes, and every night for 3, 4 weeks, I would go next door and she would help me, and it was nice to have her support. Nice to know I actually had a small group of friends and circle that I was very open that I was going through this journey on. So to have the support emotionally as well. And
Yeah.
so my next door neighbor was definitely one. And so it was nice to have her. I think what surprised me, and I hope that there's more resources and more information out, is the day of egg retrieval. It's like a surgery. You're under general anesthesia. And that was underestimated how a surgical procedure that was, and how much recovery you needed.
Mhm.
Because the next day, or even, no, I remember the following week, I was in a lot of pain and
Yeah.
I was on pain meds, and I had to reach out and depend on friends to bring me meals or help me with, everyday errands that I could normally do. And so I think that that was a surprise to me that I wish I had prepared myself more for. And it's just the aftermath. I think physically, the day post egg retrieval, like I looked like I was 3 months pregnant from all the belly and the ovaries. It's usually the size of a walnut that grew because I had so many eggs, grew the size of a grapefruit, my gynecologist described to me. And so your body's bloated and looks differently and you feel differently. You've been through all the drugs and hormones and then I actually because I think this is unstandard, but because I had so many embryos, my doctor actually went ahead and did a fresh transfer, which is normally not the case. Usually your doctor wants your body to rest a cycle before doing a transfer of embryo, but because I had a lot of embryos, she's like, let's just do it.
Oh,
So I
wow.
went from egg retrieval and then like a couple days later, embryo transfer. So
Wow.
that was a lot for my body to handle.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you have any unexpected things come up after the transfer, though, knowing that you weren't able to give your body that rest that is sort of recommended but not required?
Yeah, I mean, again, you kind of know you don't know what you don't know. And so
Right.
this is my first cycle, my first journey. Obviously I had but a handful of girlfriends going through the journey with, but we all had different experience and different stories. So even sharing, you just don't know what to expect.
No.
Yeah.
No. Especially with IVF. As we sort of switch gears here, I understand that you have donated an embryo, and that's such a big and generous step. And well, I applaud you. That is huge. Can you talk about how you went about making that decision?
I was really blessed to have more embryos than I could want. I definitely knew I wasn't going to have 5 children on my own. And so I just think about this donor and the gift he made for me to have my daughter today. It's like the greatest gift. She's the best decision, best thing that ever happened to me. And so it's in one way, it's to help enough for me to help another family to either be a mom or extend their family. Came easy to me to want to do that. Um, and so I was fortunate to find a mom in LA who wanted to be a single mom by choice. Yeah, we went through it, and now she has a 5-year-old son who my daughter calls as her brother, and we're like family to each other, and it's her full sibling when you think about it. It's really cool for her and for him that for them to have each other, and more love and is better in this world.
Do they get to spend quite a bit of time together? I know like the cities aren't that close, but do they get to see each other often?
Not as often as we want to, but I have family in SoCal, so we always make sure we get to spend time together. The past few summers, we have spent our summers together in San Diego at Legoland, so we'll spend a week together. It's my daughter's birthday in July, so it's just one big
Oh,
happy summer that we spend that week together. And we are talking about doing another vacation this summer together. And we
that's adorable.
we have a lot of contact with each other. We celebrate each other's birthdays and holidays and send each other gifts and write letters. And we have a mom group with 4 other moms with the same donor that we kind of stay in touch and hope to spend more time together as they get older. It'll get easier.
Yeah. Do you see a lot of similarities, both physical and just personality traits across the different kids?
We do. We do. I think
Yeah.
the donor has really strong traits, especially the donated embryo. I think he looks a lot like me and my daughter. And
Oh,
they're all really sweet. They have a really strong music and art background in them. And we think that's from the
wow.
donor.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, really, they're all beautiful children and also really sweet personalities. I think that's been really neat to see that as a commonality in them.
Of course, yeah. And it's nice that they have that sibling connection too
Yeah.
across all of them. I know there's some mixed feelings about that from either people I've spoken to on these episodes or offline. I'm not sure where I sit with it yet, but I did like quickly Google last week the donor's number and I was like, oh, that person's child looks like my son. And so I might open my mind to it down the road, but I know there have been other women that I've spoken to offline that are just like, absolutely not. I have no interest. And But I feel like it's really nice for them to have that connection. It can only help them. They have these other siblings out there, and especially when it comes to genetics.
That's exactly right. I mean, to each their own, Laura. I mean,
Yeah.
I did come across a couple other moms with the same donor who was very clear about that. He's like, "Hey, we have no interest to extend our family or form a relationship, but it would be helpful to stay in touch if there's a reason to share medical history." And they
Yeah.
were really transparent and upfront and from the very beginning. So we're like, I hear you. I respect you. All good. And the other families we've been in touch with, three other families, and I feel really lucky that we like their family. We like spending time together, and the kids like spending time together. So it's a win-win for all if you wanted to make it work.
And I feel like for me personally down the road, I mean, Weston's only 14 months old, so at this point,
Yeah.
he won't see any benefit from it. But as he gets a little older, I think it would be nice to have people to meet up with to sort of share the commonalities with too. Going back a little bit, and you mentioned very briefly, but how did you navigate the feelings that can come with knowing another family who was also a single mom by choice is raising one of your genetic children that's connected to you?
Yeah, it's a great question. I get asked this a lot. I don't, I love kids, whether it's mine or not. And so I love him. And to know that he shares the same DNA, it just makes it more special. When I see
Mhm.
him, I don't feel proprietary, like that's my DNA, he belongs to me. I don't feel that way at all. I'm just happy. I'm just happy that
Yeah.
he's in this world. He's in our life. He's in my daughter's life. He has a great mom who's amazing, and we all love each other. I also don't think it's about really us. It's just about gifting this life and this gift of parenthood to others. And it's like, I can't think of another way for me to be able to make a more meaningful, deep impact to someone's life.
If I were to start younger than I did, and I was able to have an ample amount of embryos to share, knowing and hearing all the stories that I hear through these conversations, that people struggle a lot for a very long time. And there are some women that are not able to carry at all. I think I would have made the same choice as you because I don't, 5 kids would be a lot. I don't think I would want 5 kids too, but I also wouldn't want to just discard them because you work so hard to get the embryos. Your body goes through so much and they are the beginning of a life. And so why not just share that with somebody else who really needs the extra help?
Yeah, I don't regret it one bit. I would do this
No.
again in a heartbeat. Yeah, for the right family.
Do you feel like he has any sort of like close connection to you?
I would say so. If not me particularly, especially to my daughter, I know that the mother has personalized a book that she
Oh,
wrote to like help explain his birth story and help him
gosh.
understand who he came out of or who helped bring him here, is a better way to
Yeah.
say it, and who I am, Jackie, who my daughter is, who his mom is, the doctor's role, and who his other siblings are. And so I think that's also really important to be transparent and about their birth story because to normalize it a bit,
Right.
so that they don't think they're different or weird or
Yeah.
I mean they're all very special, I would say, but um I think we've all done a really good job, the best job we could to be very transparent about our children's birth story and
Yeah.
know what role they play in their life.
Yeah. How old is your daughter now?
She's 8 years old.
When did you tell her about her story?
I started reading books to her before she even spoke, and the pictures, and we still have the book. I think it's a really cool book to give to everyone. And so she knows her birth story. She knows she doesn't have a father, that she has a donor, and she knows she has many grandpas and grandmas and uncles and aunts that are quote unquote choice family. And she now can really tell her own story, her own birth story with gusto, and
Oh,
not feel different or an
yeah.
outlier and just have it normalized. And I think also being living in the Bay Area with so much diversity and seeing not different family structures also helps normalize it for her that she's not different. She sees I came from a non-traditional family with half brothers, so she sees that my brothers, and she's now sees, divorced families and, her friend's mom's house, her friend's dad's house. So it's all part of societal
Mhm.
today. And I don't think she feels she's lacking anything.
No, not at all. Have you had any situations, and asking for me personally as I navigate down the road, the possible questions that might come up from either other people or other kids that want to know who the father is? Like, how do you personally navigate those conversations and or set her up to navigate those conversations?
Yeah, that's a great question. I remember before she even turned one, like her having play dates with older kids that are 5 or 6, and they would just be me and her, and they would ask her, "Where's your dad?" And she's one, she doesn't know how to talk. I actually felt uncomfortable at that moment. Like, I don't know how to answer that to a 5-year-old. So at that moment, I really realized that I need to face this sooner than later to be able to respond to these questions in a more organic and natural manner, and not get taken aback or shocked or surprised. And so that's when I learned I just had to start practicing how to tell her birth story to normalize it. And I think I did over time by reading books and answering questions for her and showing pictures of her donor and her forming relationships with her siblings, and
Mhm.
spending time together, I think helped normalize it for her. She to this day doesn't really have a lot of questions, and I leave it up to her, where when she turns 18, she has the choice whether she wants to try to find who her donor is. And so that was important to me that she had that choice.
What was your answer to those kids in that moment?
I just blunted. She doesn't have a dad. That's
That
all
would be me too.
I said.
I'd panic, like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know. He's not here.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have any advice for other single moms by choice or moms who might be listening out there who have embryos and are considering maybe wanting to donate them?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's several options what you could do, right? You could, as mentioned, discard for medical research or to donate to a family. I had such a positive, wonderful experience. I have no regrets that I hope our story inspires others to be open-minded to that option to
Mhm.
gift an embryo. But it's not for everyone. It's to each their own what feels right to them. But I hope our story is an inspiration to others to be open to that, or to make that decision for their family.
Absolutely. It's a hard decision to make.
I have a couple extra embryos that year after year I'm like, okay, and I still don't know, and I'm okay with that.
Do they, does your clinic hang on to them for so long?
No, I found a storage in Nevada that I don't think
Okay.
there's an end date. It's just a matter of how long you're willing to pay the annual fee.
Wait, what? Personal question. What happens in the event that something would happen to you? What happens to your embryos?
That is such a great question, Laura. Um, I'm surprised I have not thought about that. I've done my wills and my trust, and I'm stumped. I don't think I included any language what to do. So I might have
Yeah,
to update my my wills and my trust on that.
you should probably put that in legal writing because who knows what will happen to the additional embryos you have sitting out there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great question. It's a great question.
Because you don't want them to just get discarded. I mean, if your daughter was able to make that decision for you in the event that something were to happen, like, I don't know, maybe she would want to connect with somebody to donate them to. Who knows? So you've been pretty open about experiencing depression and loneliness through your postpartum experience, especially because of COVID and some other things. Can you tell us how you personally showed up for yourself as a single mom through all of those things? Because I know that's not easy.
Yeah, those are some dark times for sure. I really credit UCSF for flagging that immediately, like day 7 of motherhood. They had this 2-page questionnaire at your first appointment for your daughter, and that was part of the intake, is kind of the mother's mental health. And
Uh-huh.
again, this is my first rodeo, and to me, I'm like, okay, you're supposed to, maybe this is normal. I'm supposed to feel this way. But no, they flagged it right away and they had a conversation with me. And that's when I realized, oh, okay, you're not supposed to really feel this way. And I was diagnosed with severe postpartum at that moment. And, I was given the resources, given some strategies to help me feel better, to get me through those first year, really.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be totally by myself with me and my daughter, so I made sure I had people around me during that first year, to kind of take away that loneliness.
Yeah.
And then it came in ebb and flows, right? When even after returning to work, I was again around adults and returning to normalcy and the workforce. There'd be bouts of loneliness and depression and anxiety that being a first time mother can be a lot. And then a pandemic hit. And then kind
Mhm.
of going through that whole cycle of isolation and anxiety and depression all over again and being bubbled up. Yeah, I mean, those are some tough years. My daughter was around 2.5, 3 years old at that age, at that time, and I was, working in a demanding job, and so it was a lot. I mean, I think what got me through that period was fluctuate between wine and coffee. I mean, that would be my badge of honor. I was single mommied a toddler during a global health pandemic.
That is something, right? To experience all of those things and be locked inside with a toddler and find creative ways to keep their attention and keep them from melting down, but also keep yourself sane at the same time. That's very difficult. I would say that you are a strong mama for sure to go through all of that. When you look back on your postpartum 7-day survey, what were you sort of feeling at that time? So, any listeners out there who may be experiencing similar symptoms.
Yeah, I mean, it was really dark. I mean, it was, a lot of anxiety, a lot of
Mhm.
depression, a lot of, wanting to harm yourself and even maybe harm your baby, which did not make sense to me because here I am. I wanted to be a mother at as young as age 12, and here I have a beautiful, healthy daughter in my
Mm.
arms and all, and I didn't want to do have anything to do with her or myself and just fall asleep and never wake up. So very, very dark times. And so I think maybe things have changed 10 years later. There's a lot more resources and a lot more being talked about, but I feel like 10 years ago, 8 to 9 years ago, it wasn't so much prevalent, I would say.
Depression was something that we was very taboo, right? Up until a few years ago. And even postpartum depression is something that wasn't really talked about, the symptoms weren't really widely known, but it is a the baby blues are real. Those first 14 days are exceptionally hard after you have a baby, no matter what, because your body is going through all the hormonal changes and everything else. And they say you're bound to cry, you're bound to have emotions, but adding that extra layer of stress and harm and anxiety to it, that had to be really scary for you as a mama too, because this is all you've ever wanted. And so it's good that one, they recognized that you needed the support and the help to get through that period because those dark times are not easy at all. And then you also were able to recognize and get the help and accept the help, which is truly remarkable. And I applaud you for that because sometimes we don't want to accept that help through those times.
That's exactly right. Yeah, it was hard. I think what helped me get through that period was I just had to tell myself this is a phase.
Yeah.
It's and trust that this won't be a forever. I won't feel like this forever, and like this was my journey. Things happen for a reason, and to really try to get through it and navigate it through your own. I was really lucky. I had a lot of support,
Good.
and friends and a village to check in on me and um, do what they can. But ultimately, it came down to you as a mom to know what to do, what's right for you and your daughter.
So I applaud you for that because I know that that must not have been an easy journey to go through. I've experienced postpartum anxiety and depression whenever I went back to work, but I think it's just because I went back to work. Nothing fun about that. Um, it's not easy to recognize that. It's not easy to admit that. And then getting the help is really hard too. Anybody who's listening, I do recommend if you are feeling a certain way to reach out and get the help that you need.
Or
Yeah.
and even recognize and being comfortable letting your friends know so they know
Mhm.
they are aware what's going on and can give you that little extra care and love. I mean, just a couple days ago, a mom from my daughter's class had said, "Yeah, I'm just going through a bout of depression." I've been there, so I immediately let her know I'm there for her. And if she
Yeah.
needs a cry, a walk, or a cup of coffee, like we are there for you. And I think that's comes a long way, much more appreciated than we know.
It takes a village. And when people from our village in the smallest of ways are there to support us in the darkest of times, it means a lot. And it can go a long way. And just sometimes a simple hug or cup of coffee can change somebody's day.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah. Were there any sort of strategies or support systems? You know, you talked about your village a little bit, but what does your village look like outside of that early years and the COVID years?
Yeah, so just a little context. I was born and raised in SoCal, and so that's where most of my extended family is in SoCal. I'm really grateful. I'm really close to my former in-laws who are in the Bay Area, and actually my mother-in-law took me in the first 6 weeks to help me out, and so I can
Aw.
recover. I had a pretty traumatic labor, but um
Oh no.
I think build your village early and build your community early, so that you have a support system to lean on. Many people are happy to help you. Just to have a baby in a room or in someone's life just brings so much joy and light that a lot of people embrace it and love to lend a helping hand if they can. And
Mhm.
so I really think you should lean in on that. I'm lucky I live in an apartment building where there's 40 really close neighbors here. A handful of them are retired with no children, so they have really all helped me in a pinch to cover when I need it, and they have become our family and important people in my daughter's life over the years. Being in the Bay Area and Oakland specifically, I was lucky to even have like I think five choice moms in the same journey, with young kids around my daughter's age within a 2 block radius. So we were by default in each other's like built our own network and support system in that way. And so I think I feel really fortunate for me and my daughter that we have different circles of support and a big village interwoven.
Yes, it sounds like it. And that's great advice that you have for people is like building your village early and not being afraid to just ask for that help when you need it. A village is really important. It takes a village, obviously, to raise a child, no matter what. And having people in a pinch that are right next door is a truly amazing. I love that you have that support from your neighbors, and they sound absolutely amazing.
They are. We're really so blessed.
So, looking back a little bit more, what part of your journey are you the most proud of?
The most proud of, I would say raising my daughter, as a toddler during a global health pandemic in a demanding job. I mean, I think I was working, at least 50, 60 hours a week, especially during busy season from December through April with audit, tax, and year-end financial reporting, in the asset management space. And twos and threes are really hard years of a child's life. And getting through that all, being the breadwinner, the sole provider, a mother, and having any residual left for self-care for your mental emotional health, to get through those 3 years, I would say is a kind of my badge of honor of getting through that. If I can get through that, I can get through anything.
To reflect on that, if you can make it through all of that and raise a toddler while working that much through a global pandemic when we are literally locked in at home, you can get through absolutely anything. Let me ask you this. How did you find ways to entertain her or keep her entertained during that time while you were working?
Yeah, it took a lot of creativity, that's for sure. I mean, I think I even one day I just kind of threw random stuff in a plastic bin, for her to, entertain her for 30 minutes. And, I was actually fortunate to bubble up. I think that one of the advice was to bubble up no more than 8 people. It had bubbled up with a family behind us who also had a son, my daughter's age. And so we were in one bubble of 8 people. And so we kind of exchange shifts to do play dates with each other so that we can do also work from home and keep our kids entertained. And that worked out well. It is to do shifts and whatnot to get through the workday and meet
Yeah.
everyone's needs.
I haven't heard of Bubble Up, so that's very
Oh, really?
fascinating to me. I didn't have a child at the time, but that would have been nice
Okay.
if I did have a
Yeah.
child at the time. But you said about not having any extra to take care of yourself. There's a Brene Brown quote, and I'll probably get to butcher this. You have to fill your cup before you can give anything to anybody else. And so that's hard, right? Being a parent, because I know just speaking from my own personal experience is I put myself last. I neglect taking care of myself a lot, but it's hard to fill your own cup first. Yeah. Do you have any advice for listeners like myself who need to reprioritize and put myself first?
Yeah, I remember during those years, like there's gotta be one thing you need to do for your how small it is for yourself that gives you joy and happiness and just your time. And so for me, that was like a nice hot bubble bath every night to look forward to. My daughter was actually a really good steady sleeper, really on schedule. She'd get to bed by 7:30. I was able to have a few hours to myself. That's where I ate dinner and myself nutrition and all the things you need and be able to enjoy a relaxing, quiet evening for me, reading a book and always like a warm bubble bath to end your day, so to speak. And so something to look forward to, like have that one small thing, whether it's a glass of wine or a nice chat on the phone with a really good friend or a family member or a Netflix show, so that you just feel like you're doing something for yourself, however small or big.
That's great advice. Just something to look forward to every night. That's something that I can focus on myself. I used to get up early and work out in the morning, but I've been thinking maybe I'll just shift that to the evening. And so that'll be my one thing to look forward to. But then who knows? I'll probably be exhausted at that point. So I'll keep it in the morning. I don't know. We'll see. I'll play around with it.
Yeah, you can just experiment what works for you, right?
So finding support can be very tricky, and you talked a little bit about your village. Do you still stay connected with the other moms and anybody else throughout your fertility journey that has really stood out for you in support of, making this decision?
Yeah, oh, I do. There's a lot of people that have come and joined our journey and have stayed with our journey, and who I'm
Yeah.
really grateful for. I have huge gratitude to my former in-laws who, were part of the journey, who is actually who my daughter knows as her own family. She calls her own, them as her own grandma and her own
Oh,
cousins and their grandpa. It's really sweet. My exes who we are still friends, have been a big part of her life. She knows them as their uncles and they care about us a lot. New people that come our way that join in a journey. We have a lot to look forward to. It's our story's still ongoing with her being at this age, and she switched schools a few times. So we've just picked up more friendships along the way and building out our extended community on our village. It's evolving and it's been really nice. It's been really wonderful. And we're I don't know, we're just really grateful.
you had briefly touched on that you had a traumatic birth experience. Do you want to go into any of that?
Sure. It's amazing that every woman's labor story is their own and how different they are. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it can be a range of I popped out the baby in 2 minutes to
Wish.
multi-day labor stories. Myself, I had a 62.5 labor with my daughter.
I was 51, so I feel you.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It was really exhausting. But again, I had this condition where I was having labor strength contractions, but I wasn't dilated. The doctors didn't know that early on. They're just like, you're too early, go back home. So I was laboring at home for 2 days, and my girlfriend checks up on me and she's like, why aren't you at the hospital? I'm like, no, I can do it. She goes, And she just like, no, I'm driving you to the hospital. You're gonna get checked
Oh,
in. But she was actually a big baby for me. I'm pretty petite, and she was born on the 99th percentile in weight and height, and exactly 40 weeks. Third degree tears and blood
yeah.
transfusion,
Wow.
and a natural birth. It was long and exhausting, but it was all well worth it, right? So it attributed to a long recovery afterwards. Your body's gone through so much trauma, physically and mentally and emotionally. All that said, I would do it again in a heartbeat to have her in my life. That's the beauty of being woman, I think, is just the strength and resiliency of be able to create life and carry a baby like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how our brain, after a little bit of time, can be like, I don't really remember what happened, but I would definitely do that again. Right after you deliver, you're like, nope, never again. I am never pushing another child out of this because that sucked. Then, like, fast forward a year and you're like, I might consider that. That's fine. We are very resilient, though, to your point.
Yes, indeed.
Mm. We don't have too much time left. Is there anything else that you would like to share with the listeners about your story? Any inspirational pieces of advice that you would like to give to them if they're considering or if they're in this journey themselves?
Yeah, I mean, I think for the thinkers and the triers, and maybe who already single moms, you do recognize it's scary, the leap, to single motherhood, but you kind of have to trust yourself and trust the
Hmm.
process. There's really never a perfect time to have a baby, even for couples. It's all about getting your ducks in a row and your resources. There's so many more resources today compared to like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So many books, online support groups, community, and friends and family that you can lean on. And so I feel like you have to trust yourself. When there's a will, there's a way. And the first few years are tough. There's no hiding about that. But when there's a will, there's a way. You have to really depend on yourself, trust in yourself to be resourceful for you and your family. It does get easier. I mean, there's a lot of things that are easier. Again, we touched upon how you're the only sole decision maker for your family, and there's no other person to negotiate with and fight with and dispute with
Hmm.
and argue with. And that's really nice, just to
Yeah.
remove that friction. And
Well, until your child gets their voice and then there's like another person's opinion, right?
yeah, yeah, that's true. That's very true. I'll probably have a few more years to go before I get there. I think also job wise, career wise for women, if you think about like 30 years ago, a generation ago, there's no such thing as hybrid remote work. Like my mother worked for Allergan for 30 years, where she had to be in a lab 12 hours a day, sometimes 7 days a week, just to feed the family. And there was no like, oh, I'm going to work from home. My daughter's sick. And so I feel like those times are really hard to try to make, ends meet in a job that you're in, and versus today there's a lot more flexibility
Yeah.
and autonomy that a woman can have over their job. I'm actually personally just downshifted to be a fractional consultant, where I'm working async and remote and hybrid on my own hours, on my own terms, and be able to
That's
set my
nice.
boundaries and my schedule so I could be a more present mom to my 8-year-old.
Oh,
I have
wow.
these next few precious years that I'm still her number one person, and she wants to spend time with me. And I want to embrace that, really enjoy these next few years. And so I intentionally made that shift earlier this year to do that. And so I think
Yeah.
I'm so grateful and feel so lucky that I'm able to do that for her.
That's a
And
blessing. Mm. I know in today's economy, it's very difficult no matter what kind of job that you're in because these years are precious and we can't get them back, unfortunately.
yeah, I had to think about it for long. It felt scary, but I made that leap, and we are really happy with the decision. Yeah.
We grow the most through the hardest times and the most difficult decisions. And so, as much as it is scary to make decisions like that or becoming a single mom by choice, sometimes it is where we grow and we find our biggest strengths. Thank you, Jackie, for your time today. This has really been a pleasure. I have enjoyed meeting you and hearing about your story and your daughter and your embryo donation. You are very inspirational, I will say that.
Thank you so much, Laura. Thanks for having me
Yes,
today.
and you have a very positive outlook on everything, which I love. I probably needed that this week after this week because it's been very crazy.
Yeah, I mean, again, I actually have a mom blog that I like to write more than I should, or I like to write more than I want, but serve as inspiration to share our journey for others who are thinking about it.
And we will end on that note. So thank you again. I appreciate your time today, Jackie. As we close out this episode, Jackie's story reminds us that love shows up in so many forms. Sometimes in the courage to begin, sometimes in the strength to pivot, and sometimes in the generosity to help someone create the family that they have been dreaming of. From starting her journey with a known donor to ultimately choosing a different path, Jackie navigated each step with intention and heart. Along the way, she not only built a beautiful life for her daughter, but she also cultivated something even bigger, a sibling community that connects families, a village of single moms by choice who lift one another up, and a powerful example of what support through embryo donation can look like. Her story is about expanding love, building a family in thoughtful ways, and raising a daughter surrounded by connection and community. Before you go, I just want to say thank you for being here and sharing this space with us. If choosing chaos has become even just a small part of your journey, please make sure that you subscribe so that you never miss more stories of courage, choice, and connection through the beautiful and messy decision to become a mom. You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Patreon, and YouTube. Come join the conversations and share your story, connect with other moms and moms-to-be, and help us to continue to build this community. We are here to support one another. Thank you for being here. Thank you for trusting me and us with your hearts and your hopes. And thank you for choosing this path with us. We'll see you next time on Choosing Chaos.